It's Monday, January 19th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, the Overclocking. Let's do this.
Well, I duly celebrated the day of the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. by going skiing, which, as a guy at the ski resort said to me when they were celebrating MLK Day, celebrate the blackest day in the world in a good way, because he was this awesome black guy, by doing the whitest thing in the world.
That's a funny guy.
He was like this big black dude. Apparently they had this awesome, like,
That's my kind of guy, because at the same time, right, it's like, you know, it's got the double meaning of skiing, snow, white, but also stereotypically, white people are way more skiing than black people. Even though, obviously, that is not 100% true, because there was a black guy at the ski resort.
This guy was one of those, like, his face.
Oh, it wasn't a resort, it was a mountain.
No, it's also a resort.
Oh, really? Can you stay there?
Yeah.
In the cabin?
In fact, because of the economy, you can get a nice condo like on the slopes.
I don't want a condo. I want a log cabin for like the weekend.
Log cabin for the weekend is like $100 a person.
Really?
Per night.
Oh wait, per person. So 10 people in one cabin is the same as 10 people in 10 cabins?
Well, if you go in the normal ones, you can also rent just a cabin, and it's not that much. Like maybe for $400 or $500 total, we can have it for as many people as we can cram in for like a whole weekend.
See, because if you were all shushing, but I was sitting in the cabin going, log cabin.
Actually, they got this big spa.
There's not much that I like better than sitting in a log cabin.
They got all these like indoor pool
I don't
things.
trust that, because it might tip me out and spill me down the mountain while I'm sitting on the toilet.
They also have, for people who don't want to ski, tubing with lifts.
That's not too bad.
So you can like sled and tube, but
isn't that even more dangerous though?
It's on this tiny little like 20-foot hill.
Okay.
You can't hurt yourself on that thing.
Right.
That's the like the kids are there while the dad.
It's like skiing. If you do that on the ski hill, you're gonna die. But I like sitting in log cabins, going and I put on my little top hat, pretend to be Abraham Lincoln.
Nope. But this dude was like one of those old school skiers. Like he had non-shaped skis. Cabin? What? What? No. But he had like these old like non-shaped skis, which like I can't deal with those anymore. Like I don't even understand how people can ski on them. Mm-hmm. And there was this like they had this cool event last night about it, and they had fireworks on the slopes right after. And then today at 4, I left before the slopes closed, but then they had a rail jam, which was basically come and show off in the terrain park on your snowboards.
Oh.
They have the half pipe finished and all the awesome stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I came home because I didn't want to be there all night.
Especially in the dark and the cold outside.
Well, when I was a kid, I never got to ski during the day because my parents didn't want to pay the $50. So they'd send me at night, and I'd ski from like 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the dark.
Brr.
I had a full face mask.
Woman, it's cold.
But skiing was a little easier this time, since actually people were saying that it was like the nicest day of skiing Hunter Mountain has had in like 5 years.
No?
It was like
it
perfect.
Did. It snowed like a bunch, and then it snowed a little bit, and then
yep, and it was real
all
cold
powdery
the last
snow.
few days.
The snow was so powdery that the shovel guys used leaf blowers instead of shovels.
And I got to tell you that when I got there, I got there early. People don't usually show up to ski until like 10, so it was me and like 15 other people in that first half hour. It was virgin powder. There was about 3 inches of that powder. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
I understand. I really understand now why people are like, "Oh, the powder! Oh, the powder!"
The thing is, I watched a video of skiing in Iran, and it was like $1, and it was like just like mountain with like a crappy old lift and like a shit ton of snow.
Well, the cool thing was, it sucked because it was a holiday technically, so I had to pay the extra couple bucks. So I paid it was like $65 for my lift ticket. But
you could have bought a video game.
But
you could have bought 2 video games.
It was MLK Day. Like hardly anyone gets it off, so there weren't that many people.
You kidding? The thing is, the train station was like empty, and they ran a weekend schedule, and the trains were empty. So someone must have had the day off.
Yeah, well, like a lot of people in urban areas get the day off, but like not everyone does. I met like 4 different people today who all work in the stock market. And they're like, yeah, stock holiday. Here we are.
Ah, not bad.
They all drove up from New York. Like, well, 2 of these people, they work down the street from me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that was cool. But I hurt the same shoulder that I hurt last time. I just healed it.
Maybe you should get a shoulder surgery.
Nah.
Get the baseball shoulder surgery. It'll be stronger.
It's not the same thing. But you know what's dumb? I was doing like the black diamonds, and I got in over my head a little bit, but I never fell once in all the crazy hard slopes because I was trying real hard. I was real careful.
Then you went on the bunny hill and you fell over?
During a lot of these hard slopes, I was thinking the whole time, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Oh shit. Like once I came around on it looked like it was an easy one. It was this black diamond, but like goes around this nice, gentle, like around the corner, and there's moguls, but I can just kind of avoid the moguls. And then I come around the corner, like around this sharp, like hairpin turn, and I turn, and it's like straight down, and I couldn't stop in time, so I went straight down. I must have been going like 50 miles an hour, and then at the end there was a bump, and I jumped like 6 feet in the air. And in the air, my brain thought, like time slowed down. It was like, heartbeat, fuck, heartbeat, fuck, heartbeat. I think I'm gonna make it, heartbeat. Oh shit, there's another bump. Heartbeat. I'm in the air again. I totally made it. And I thought, all right, that was too much. I risked it. I made it. I'm going to go eat some lunch. So I go past the ski lift and I take like the easy bunny trail down. And then I totally fall on my ass and hurt my shoulder on like the bunniest bunny trail.
I told you.
Because I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh man, I'm such an awesome ski. Oh, bam. Ow. No one even saw it. I was all alone, like in this little bunny trail, like off by the side. There's like the go slow family skiing area there. It's like,
man, that's something though. If you're up on the mountain with not a lot of other people, the ski patrol might not notice if you hurt yourself. Because
the ski patrol will notice. In fact, because they patrol all the slopes like on a regular basis, and they spend a lot of time in the places where people tend to hurt themselves. And actually, I was riding up with the ski patrol guy. It was funny because the whole time, like, someone got hurt real bad, actually. But I got to listen to his radio, and he was like, yeah, I can ignore it until I get to the top, because what am I going to do? I'm on the lift.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fastest way to the top, right?
It was constantly, it was like...
They should have, like, an emergency button, though, that makes the lift go fast. Like, bzzz.
Well, there is one lift that goes real fast. All the other ones go kind of slow. But the whole time, it was like... level whatever, someone reported hurt on this trail, send one guy, send two guys. People got hurt like every 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's how it's a dangerous thing, shushing on the mountain.
But I feel like if I had needed help on that bunny trail, I don't think they're patrolling that bunny trail. Because you can't hurt yourself on the bunny trail unless you're stupid.
You could have landed face first in the snow and like just twisted your neck the wrong way by random chance on like maybe a hidden rock, and then your face would have been in the snow. You've been suffocating and bleeding and your teeth falling out.
There's no hidden rocks on the bunny trail.
Oh, there's a hidden rock.
No, there's no hidden rocks.
I put it there.
But yeah, as a result, skiing, I've only skied a couple times this winter. I'm 27 now, and I feel like that's old, and I feel like my body, I don't recover as quick. Like when I was a kid, like I would go skiing like from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Like I'd fall over like 100 times. Like I would push myself to the limit and beyond.
It's called cartilage versus bone.
Yes.
We know about this.
And the next day, I'd feel great. In fact, when I got home at like midnight, I'd feel great. And then I'd stay out playing like The Realm or something. I don't feel so hot right now. I got to get some sleep.
I also feel illin, but I don't know if I am illin or not. We'll find out.
What do you have to be illin about?
I don't know. I just got in the train to go home, and I was just so tired.
Maybe we should do a quick show. No. So, it's Tech Day. What's in the news?
I got this amazing news. I don't know if it's not really a news, but I don't give a shit, right? So, there's a guy, and let's see. Oh, it has his name here. His name is Matt Knox, right? Like Fort Knox, but Matt. And he is a, quote, talented Ruby instructor and coder. But in his early days, he worked for Direct Revenue. Direct Revenue was an adware company, the one that got sued by Elliot Spitzer when he was still Attorney General of New York.
Oh, back when he was doing awesome?
Yeah, back when he was doing awesome, before he started doing poop, right? So this interview with this adware guy is like one of the most fascinating articles that I've read in a long time, because this guy is clearly a high quality computer scientist, right? He talks about and the way I can tell is because apparently he deployed Scheme with the adware, and he's pretty sure that's the largest Scheme deployment ever. But he talks about how the adware worked and how they avoided removal and detection, and how they were able to remove the other adwares, and how their adware was actually a little bit, still shitty, but a little bit more legitimate than the other adware, which is just blatantly hacking you. This would basically install when you installed it and uninstall when you uninstalled it. It's just when it was installed, it, kicked your ass and filled you with ads and shit.
Wow, so there's a tiny amount of honor among thieves.
The funniest thing he talks about, actually, that I thought was the most interesting was how when you uninstalled, right, which you could only do through their uninstall process, no adware removers didn't do the trick, right? They would put a registry key in. They had registry keys while it was installed, but when they uninstalled, they removed all the registry keys, but they put one behind. They left one behind, and that one was so that their program would never install again. Because if someone, so let's say you uninstalled and then you tried to install again, it would see that registry key and you'd be safe. Right? But adware removers were stupid, and the adware removers would remove that registry key. Thus, if you would uninstall it by the normal means, then use an adware remover, and then it would install again.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can still only blame the spyware and not the adware removal software.
Of course. But,
it's weird how the world went from adware removal didn't need to exist to it existed and worked to it really just doesn't work anymore. Like, if you really get bad
If you
adware,
get any virus or any adware or anything, you can use a tool to remove it, and you might be pretty sure that it's removed. You can do a lot of things to look and see if it's removed. You can use some Wireshark, I guess it's called, to look at your network traffic to see if any spyware is going out.
Yes, Ethereal was renamed Wireshark due to I should tell that story on a Monday show sometime.
Yeah, but you can do all sorts of things to check if the adware was removed, but you can't be 100% sure. You can be 100% sure you've got it. But no matter how many cleaners you run, you can never be 100% sure you've gotten rid of it. You can be like 90% sure. Like, hey, I ran 3 adware removal tools and 2 virus tools. They don't detect anything. You can be 90% sure you got rid of it, but not 100%.
The ways to be 100% sure are ways that involve external checking that are also 100% impractical.
Yes. So if you get any virus or any malware, any adware, my recommendation to you is to just erase your entire hard drive and then reinstall your operating system. And you should have backups, right? Because installing an operating system takes 20 minutes. It takes no time at all. It's really, really easy. I mean, Windows 7 actually, it still is not as easy as Ubuntu because you have to restart a few times. But it was really easy. It was they definitely learned from Ubuntu's installer, and it's just as good as the Ubuntu installer, despite having a couple extra restarts and taking a little bit longer. That's the only difference. So,
plus, people, one thing to keep in mind, if you've got a Windows box, I've said this before, everyone smart says this, but install Windows on the C partition and give it enough space, and always give it a bunch of extra because it's going to need more space and temp files and things. You don't want to mess with that. There are ways around that, but don't bother. Make another partition and put all your other data, like your MP3s and crap, there.
Yep.
That way, you can reinstall without losing any of that. And as long as nothing on that drive is executables, or even if they are executables, if they don't get run again, then you can just reinstall the OS and not lose anything but, all the application stuff you've got to reinstall.
Yeah, and reinstalling applications is cake. I mean, what do you really have to install? Like Firefox, an instant message client, so let's say Pigeon, right? Some Firefox extensions, Flash, maybe a BitTorrent client, right? That takes what, 20 minutes?
Well,
right?
I mean, you might have some specialized stuff, but even then...
Then, you don't install it. See, people make the mistake when they reinstall their OS. They sit there for hours and hours reinstalling every single program. Don't do that. Just reinstall the programs as you use them. So you're sitting at your computer. It's a brand new Windows, right? First thing you got to do, I got to go to the web, install Firefox. Oh, man, there's ads. Install AdBlock. Oh, I got to talk to my friend. Now install AIM.
It kind of automatically...
Now I want to sync my iPod. Now install iTunes.
It automatically makes sure that you... It's kind of like one of the main reasons reinstalling Windows always makes it fast. People say Vista or, the new Windows 7 beta are super fast. take Windows 2000 and install it fresh, and it's real fast.
Yeah, any Windows is real fast when it's a fresh install.
Well,
it just slows down over time.
Any NT-based Windows.
Right. I mean, Windows 7, if you actually used it for a long time, might get slow.
We don't know for sure.
We don't know.
I mean,
But every other Windows has.
Yeah, but it's kind of like part of what reinstalling does is you start with a clean slate. So why not always try to keep your computer as clean slate as possible? Unless
the one thing the one thing you shouldn't wait on is Windows updates. Do every single Windows update immediately, all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty much when I install a computer, it's all the Windows updates. And, first, if they're, the motherboard driver, if you have a motherboard driver or any of those things.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, Windows Update now actually takes care of your drivers. Like, it takes care of, like, from my computer, it does the real NVIDIA driver. It does the real network card driver. It takes care of that shit. It's pretty good.
But, anyway. This is I actually read this too, and it was.
The computer science parts of the article are just really fascinating, like how the Windows process security flaws and all these, file system tricks where he's like using Unicode in the registries so that the keys can't be seen, and
Plus, it's
while
cool
he's
to
doing
see.
evil things, the techniques that he's using are like really amazing.
Plus, it's just really cool to see it from this perspective where it's not like reverse engineering or speculating or, figuring out what they did. It's someone saying, this is what we did and why. Check it out.
Yep.
But in other news, I don't want to talk about this in super depth because the issues that would be brought up are many. I mean, we could do a whole show about this, but there is a problem that Barack Obama is running into whereby, due to the way our government works and the way technology is and the way politics are, he has a Blackberry. He's a hip tech guy. Like, he's technologically
He had a podcast.
proficient. Yes, people forget.
I mean, he's probably not a computer science genius, but I think he has some smart tech people working for him, and he knows enough. He doesn't know as much as us, but he knows more than any president ever, and significantly more than most other federal elected officials. He knows more than most of the congressmen, and he knows a lot.
I'm pretty sure I would call him computer literate.
Definitely.
In fact, he's probably above average in that regard. But
oh yeah, he can rock the face. He can make a podcast. He can rock a Facebook, and he can send a BlackBerry. That's more than George Bush with his AOLs.
That's the problem. He uses a BlackBerry, and the Secret Service and the government and everyone are basically saying, Barack, you can't keep using the BlackBerry for all these reasons. And, security is a concern, and data retention is a concern, and privacy is a concern. And
there's
he's
a law
fighting.
that
Like, he got a bunch of lawyers together, and he was trying to fight to say, look, how can we get around this? I really want my BlackBerry. I like to see
the
ESPN.
thing was, he got a bunch of lawyers. He should have gotten a bunch of computer scientists. They would have figured it out.
No, it's not a matter of figuring it out. It's not a matter of having a technological solution. This is the root problem here. No technological solution is even on the table. The problem is the politics and the bureaucracy and the fact that our government is a government of Luddites. I mean, Congress is so technologically archaic, it's not laughable, it's frightening. And what bothers me, and this just kind of brings it all to light, is that why do people need to use a BlackBerry? If you're the president or you're in Congress, shouldn't there be a BlackBerry equivalent that is just for people in the federal government, that is encrypted and controlled by the government, and everything's archived and keeps it forever, super secure?
Yeah, I mean, even the crappiest offices in just normal offices have Exchange servers, right? Why doesn't Congress at least have an Exchange server?
But what? No, go one step further. Why don't they?
At least.
I'm talking about portable. Imagine if, and this wouldn't even cost that much to do, the government designed or hired people to design a BlackBerry-like device that was only to be used by high government officials.
You wouldn't even need a different device.
Make a new device. That way it meets all the. There's a lot of weird standards and things.
You wouldn't need you could just put different software on an existing device.
You could, but then they always worry about who makes the devices, and they could be compromised at the hardware or firmware level. And
oh, it's BS.
No, stuff like that has happened before.
Just get the Palm Pre. No one knows about it.
Yeah. But anyway, the idea is, what if every member of Congress had a special BlackBerry-like device that was super RSA style, whatever encryption, 3-factor authentication, thumbprint, pin.
No Congress people would know how to use it. They'd be like that doctor who threw his printer in the garbage.
But you force them to use it, and you make it anyway. Even if they don't use it, eventually they'll all die, and there will be people who will use it. I mean, think of this.
But by then, we won't have that anymore. We'll have something better, so it would have been a waste.
No, it wouldn't. Because then, remember, Congress will still be a whole technological generation behind, and having this, even in a primitive form in the future, is better than what they'll have otherwise in the future. But, I mean, imagine right now, if Congress is out of session and there's an emergency, what? The president can do something, but it's going to take a while to get Congress together. What if they all got paged on their little Blackberry, they open it, they can read the super secret important thing, and then they can, vote on the emergency thing right then and there.
Because we wouldn't be on C-SPAN.
Doesn't matter. It's archived. And then have the semi-live, redacted RSS and Twitter feed of what's going on in Congress.
Yeah.
Just the fact that this is an issue opens up a whole bunch of problems that our government does not use technology efficiently. And if it did, we could solve all of these problems trivially. And I don't want to talk about this news anymore because
I really think we just need to have a computer be the government. You know, like in every bad sci-fi where eventually the computer decides to kill everyone, like Paranoia or Phoenix Future or whatever,
guess
or Logan's Run.
It'll take it a while before it tries to kill everyone.
Yeah. So in the meantime, it's great. I mean, how do you think those places end up like that? How do you end up in Logan's Run? Because the computer is great for a long time, so everyone loves it, and then eventually it turns evil.
Are you implying that the computer is evil? Do you not trust the computer? Are you not a happy citizen?
No, because by the time the computer turns evil, I'll be dead, so it's all good.
But implying that the computer could turn evil, are you a communist?
No.
Only communists deny the fact that they're communists.
I like free market computing. You like equal opportunity computing.
But yeah, I want to do a show about this sometime in the future because I have 6 points that each of which will take me a while to get out related to this article. But suffice to say, read this article and read all the concerns that they have pointed out. I mean, there are a lot of concerns. And the one that bothers me is they're worried that if the president uses something like a BlackBerry, then everything he does personal would be recorded somewhere. And then later, maybe that could all be dug up in case he was doing shady stuff. To which I say,
good.
Transparency. I feel like if you're a government official, there should be a certain expectation that you give up a lot of your privacy as long as you are, something like a president or a member of Congress. I feel like one of the prices of doing the job is losing a lot of your rights while you're doing the job.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about this, right? I work for my boss, right? Well, while I work for, my boss can look at my work email, right, and whatever, right? Now, if you're the president, everyone is your boss. So everyone should be able to see your work email. Now, you do have personal email.
For example,
that's outside of work.
There are other exceptions too. For example, the email that you send saying effectively, so the agents that are stationed in X are doing Y for Z right now, correct? We got to hold off on that until that situation is resolved. I'm okay with that.
You don't need to show it to everyone. You just need to put it somewhere.
Yes.
On a hard drive.
And then wait until, it doesn't matter anymore and then reveal it all.
That's another thing, is that our government in general is just terrible about waiting and then showing. It's like they just wait forever. They never show. There's World War I shit they haven't shown. It's what the fuck, guys? It doesn't matter anymore.
Yes.
Cough it the fuck up. It's of historical significance.
I mean, what? So we betrayed
And if it's
the
not
Prussians.
historically significant, what's your reason to hide it?
So we betrayed the Prussians. So what? Whoop-de-freaking-do. There's no more Prussia.
Yeah.
What are they going to do about it?
Once something's old, I don't care how secret it is. Cough it up.
But anyway, read the articles, and sometime in the future, we're going to talk about this in more depth. But anyway, things of the day. We'll see how long we go in this episode since we're both kind of fading fast.
Well, speaking of government not doing so well with technology, the FCC.
Ah, the FCC. Right. Ah, you should be disbanded and remade.
Yeah. Did I use this already? Oh, crap.
Ah, good job.
Let me go check.
Good game. All right, I'll talk about mine. So this is just a picture. That's all it is. I'm pretty sure it's World War I vintage. I'd imagine it's in Britain. Just this, I'm guessing that it's in Britain, but it could theoretically be somewhere else. I'm going to go with Britain. And it's a whole bunch of kids and a few soldiers and things, all wearing gas masks, doing a parade. And they've got a little like machine gun and a bunch of flags and a little armored car.
Armored car.
I'm not really sure of the context. I'm not really sure what's going on, if this is a demonstration, a photo op, a drill, what. But it is one of the creepiest pictures I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
World War I gas masks are one of the few things that creep me out just a little bit. Like
They're pretty scary.
Like if I woke up, just like I woke up in the morning and I saw a World War I gas mask, I might yell at least a little.
I should get one. Hanging on the ceiling in your room, or wear it in the morning, wake you up.
Well, it's like that. We had a friend at RIT who was afraid of clowns, and we always had this sinister idea of getting a little chip with a speaker that would play very quietly the clown song and just leave it somewhere in his bedroom to activate like a week later.
Yeah.
That's very much like Truck, one of those things that's funny, but you never actually do it because it doesn't actually work.
It could work.
I've never seen Truck work.
Anyway, so the FCC, if I did this already, fuck you, I'm tired. Basically, we complain about the FCC now because of stupid shit like, censorship of radio and broadcast television, which is, I say, not their area. They should not be dealing with that, all right? They should only be concerned with, two people on the same frequency fucking each other up. They also have a lot of other problems, allowing cable television cartels, not doing net neutrality and making, ISPs a utility. They're not so great, right? They got a lot of problems. But apparently, most of these problems we see in the context of, the now. Apparently, way back in 1974, former FCC General Counsel Henry Geller did a paper called A Modest Proposal to Reform the Federal Communications Commission. So this shit has been fucked up for a long time, like before cassette tapes, a long time. All right, 1974, man, that's ancient. It's like disco, and he was saying, man, FCC's fucked up when all they had was radio and disco.
Speaking of which, though, disco needs to come back in a big way.
Anyway, well, the FCC can take care of that because they'll just regulate the radio and say no music except disco. But
all this music can be yours. Anyway,
only disco though. No, so there's this website called fcc-reform.org that has this paper from 1974, which is just revealed, as well as a lot of other videos and papers by prominent people of, former FCC people, intellectuals, professors, lawyers, all kinds of people. And they all say, basically, FCC's corrupt, gotta fix it. Yeah, what's wrong? Come on, let's go. So, if you ever want to argue with someone or want to have a discussion about the FCC and why it needs to be reformed.
Now, I point out that in our world, have a discussion means argue.
Yeah, if you're thinking about writing a letter to like the FCC or your congressman to talk about reforming the FCC because, there's a new Congress right now, go to this site, do your research, write a little letter. You're all good.
All right.
All right, so I'm pretty sure we didn't do a show on this already.
But we're not going to talk that long about it either because we're fading fast, but we'll probably do another show along similar lines in the future, but got to talk a little bit about the OC.
The OC, the overclock. You see,
I could make a graph of. It's a graph that shows usefulness on the y-axis and year on the x-axis.
Yeah. See, a lot of people out there, they like computer hardware. They like buying parts on Newegg, putting a computer together, right? And they like to overclock. They overclock the video card. They overclock the CPU. They do a little RAM clock, right? And I did that back in the day, and I understand, how it could be sort of interesting and maybe fun. But from a practical perspective, if you are in the current day, 2009, if you want to build a personal computer on the x86 platform, all right? Pretty much any common personal computer architecture. And you want to actually use that computer for a long time and get your money's worth. Overclocking is really stupid.
Now, before anyone gets, get their panties in a wad or any of that, just hobbyist overclocking is cool like any other hobby.
Yeah, I mean, when you see like, Newegg guys doing a demonstration where they get like the liquid nitrogen out and they get the CPU up to like 8 gigahertz or some crazy shit going on, that's cool. But they never intended that computer to actually be used. They just did it for, the demonstration purposes, That wasn't a computer that you saved up $1,500 for and bought and now plan to play games on for 5 years, all right? That was a computer for a cool demonstration, in which case overclocking is a pretty neat demonstration.
Now, the reason overclocking isn't really why it's not useful anymore is that, one, for most purposes, computers are a lot faster than you need them to be. And for gaming, it's so cheap to upgrade. Like the time it takes to overclock and set up the cooling and then the risk versus buying a new component. Like a good example is I did try overclocking my video card, my current video card. I have a GeForce 7900 whatever.
All right.
And it's not really fast enough. Like if I play Left 4 Dead, every now and then my frame rate will drop. And in like Fallout 3, the frame rate drops in like 4 different places where it really gets to me. Like 4 parts of the game, like in the tree place, like I can't walk around in there. It's really bad.
You can turn the settings down,
Yeah, but I didn't really want to do that. So
that's what they're there for.
So on a lark, I used the utility and I overclocked my video card. And I got about 10 more frames a second. And then I looked online and I can buy a video card that will get me way more than 10 more frames a second for like $80.
Yep. See, like back in the day.
Oh, and while it was overclocked, my case overheated an hour later.
Yeah. Back in the day, like a quality video card was $300. But right now, you can go and buy an NVIDIA 9800 GT for like $120. That's pretty much, I have an 8800 GT. With my 8800 GT and my middle-of-the-road Core 2 Duo, I think 3 gigahertz Core 2 Duo, no overclocking whatsoever, completely standard retail cooling equipment, right? I can play the Crysis demo, the infamous Crysis, right? I played the demo with everything turned all the way up at 1680 by 1050 at vertical sync with no drop-offs. If I would have had a 9800 GT instead of the 8800 GT, it would only be better than that. And this is also on the infamous Vista, which is less performance. Ooh, right? So why would I overclock if I can get, max, basically, performance in what I'm going to do with normal standard equipment?
In this case, there is one situation where overclocking might be somewhat useful. But then again, it's a calculated risk, and you really got to think about it. Say you're in late high school or early college, and you're a gamer, and your gaming PC's a little old, and you're real poor. Like right now, for us, we have plenty of money and no time. So overclocking is completely dumb because for the time it takes to overclock, I could make enough money at my job to just buy all the components. And
I mean, if I bought nothing but computers...
Oh my God.
I could buy like 5 computers a month.
And I remember like one thing I did at RIT a couple times, I just sat down and thought.
And they would all be the god of gods.
I thought if money were no object, what kind of computer would I build? I would build like an $8,000 computer online and just look at it and go, oh man. Nowadays, even then, $4,000 is a supercomputer.
I bought an $800 desktop. And I bought a $2,000 laptop, but it's not $2,000 anymore.
My current computer is $1,200, including the widescreen.
Yeah, I guess that's tough. You got if I'm not counting my monitor or my speakers or any of my other equipment that I brought over from the past.
Plus, I went real high end on this computer when I bought it. So
well, not on the video card though.
No, but at the time, this computer's real old. Actually, now it's over a year old.
You should just buy that 9800 GT I was talking about.
I'm going to actually, but
right.
I bought this computer, the one I'm using now, that's still stupidly fast. When I still worked at that hospital.
Wow.
It's been way over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing fine. But
yeah.
if you have a lot more money than time, and you are willing to either spend the time to research and make sure that your cooling is set up right, and you are willing to risk possibly having to reinstall Windows after you screw it up, and you are willing to risk the fact that you may screw up your hardware,
and have to buy a new computer.
Then, yeah, overclocking isn't that bad of an idea. But really only if you have more money than time, or you're a hobbyist and you're doing it for the sake of doing it as opposed to for a practical reason.
Yeah. I guess there's also the case, right, where let's say you're poor, right? But you have a computer, but it's not fast enough. And you're willing to lose the computer, right? So it's an old computer. you can overclock that beast and maybe try to make it more useful than it currently is. You know,
Plus, if
it's
old
already
enough-
old. You know, but I guess you just have to be willing to recognize you might break it and have to buy a new one.
Like old Athlon, like, the K7s, the 800 megahertz, the Durons and all those. You can overclock the hell out of those.
Well,
old
see,
things.
that's the thing, right? Back in our day, in the earlier part of the decade, right? The Athlon era, the Pentium 4 era, right?
Yep.
It was like getting a chip that was one step faster was a lot of money. And it wasn't just because we were poorer in those days. It actually was a lot more money. So overclocking, if you looked at the price and performance and the risk of things in that time in history, overclocking was a great idea because more likely than not, it was going to work, right?
Yeah, I mean, think for
you were going to get a huge performance increase in a time where software was a lot more demanding than hardware could put up.
And you could, there were avenues of overclocking that don't matter as much now. Like back then, there were, the front side bus was the biggest bottleneck in the world. Now it's not as much of a concern.
Now with DDR, like DDR3, it's not really a problem so much, the RAM speed, But now with PCI X16 and, instead of, AGP2X, that's not really a problem either.
Yep. Plus, I mean, I remember very specifically, I had an Athlon 800 megahertz. The Athlon, gigahertz was more than twice as much money at the time. So I could buy 2 of the chip I got and wreck one of them and and I could overclock it to be faster than the chip I didn't buy because it was too expensive.
Yep.
So I did. I overclocked my 800 to about 933.
But nowadays, unless you're doing Pixar type work or running Maya or something crazy or like a giant painting in Photoshop or something along those lines.
If you like to play the benchmark game, though only if you're playing it as a game. Benchmarks are basically useless.
Yeah. Unless you're doing something like that, right? Like a Core 2 Duo is going to do everything you need. Hardware these days is way ahead of the software. That's why we're seeing this netbook surgence because 90% of what people do can be accomplished with really low horsepower. So getting more horsepower, especially at the risk of having to spend more money, is a really bad idea when you don't need the extra horsepower. If suddenly applications started getting more demanding again, and suddenly, the chips weren't fast enough to do everyday things like they weren't fast enough in the olden days, right? Where you'd get skipping just like watching a video or something. Then maybe overclocking would become a good idea again, but it's not. So it's not.
Of course, remember too, I did the crazy air cooling and I set my case up awesome. It sounded like a jet engine, and I overclocked my AMD quite a bit. I also overclocked my video card quite a bit. And that computer crashed about twice a week when it was overclocked, and it didn't when it wasn't overclocked. It also, my Windows installation due to these crashes would become corrupt to the point that I would have to reinstall about once every 4 months.
Yep.
And it was clearly due to the overclocking. And in fact, the overclocking and the heat accelerated the death of my motherboard when eventually the capacitors exploded due to the unrelated Chinese bootleg problem back in the day.
Yeah. Nowadays, if you get a motherboard with the solid state capacitors, that specific problem will be less, but the unreliability is still a major issue.
Yeah.
The other thing you got to worry about when the overclocking is the cooling. The cooling is big because when you overclock something, it's going to make more heat. That's the reality of physics, right? So you want to make sure you have more cooling if you overclock. That way, you got that extra safety there. Maybe it'll even be 100% reliable. Maybe, right? The thing is, if you buy, say, a quad core, right? It comes, if you buy a retail one, it comes with this heatsink. That heatsink it comes with that has the Intel sticker on it. It's the Intel, I don't know if Intel makes those things, but it's Intel brand heatsink. Is super quiet and can cool the chip perfectly if you don't overclock. So there's no reason to use anything else unless you overclock. Anything else is going to be bigger and louder unless you get water cooling, in which case it will be quieter, but it'll be a pain in the ass. You're going to risk getting water everywhere if you don't know what you're doing. And it's going to be real expensive. And, even with water cooling, right? Water cooling might, be quieter and cooler, but you have used more electricity on the stupid condenser thingy that cools the water.
Well, the main reason I ever had for water cooling when I really thought about doing it, I ended up not doing it, was that I wanted a computer that was quiet so I could use it as a media PC, but now a Mac Mini is silent.
Yeah, but even so, if you have a computer in your room, in the same room that you sleep in, or even a different room than you sleep in, it's still really, like, people don't, know until they have a quiet computer. It's real nice to have a computer that doesn't make a lot of noise. I mean, if you start, like, when I start playing a game, like when I play Fallout 3, the video card fans start going faster and faster and faster, and they start to make a little bit of noise, and it is bothersome because, like, I hear them and they sort of interfere with the game I'm playing where I want to hear what's in the game, So a quieter computer is always better. Unless it's like a server rack kind of computer, in which case, it could be fucking loud as you want. And
oh my God.
Pretty much every rack mount computer is loud as all fuck.
At work, they were setting up some switches, and they're like new Cisco things. And
you turn them on, and they're just so fucking loud.
Well, when you turn them on at first, because they have variable fan speed depending on the environment. So they'll but when they
variable fan speed between jet engine and Concorde.
No, they're actually pretty quiet normally.
Right. Yeah.
But when you turn them on before you configure them, they default to the fastest. So literally, I hear this jet engine take off, and everyone in the whole office is looking like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, my computer, when you turn it on, like for a few seconds, it goes full speed, but then it calms back down once the BIOS gets going, back to normal managed speed.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, you got to remember, your power supply, your video card, and your CPU fan are the sources of most of the noise. So you really want to get quiet power supply, quiet video card, standard retail, comes with the chip CPU fan for the maximum quietness. And if overclocking gets you like 5 frames a second, but as a result, everything's louder or more expensive, was it really worth it? I mean, you could pay $50 for, a water cooling kit. Or you could pay $50 for one chip faster than what you got. So why did you buy the water cooling kit? You could have just gotten a faster chip in the first place. Now, overclocking for practical purposes is now dead. There's really no reason to do it anymore except for, fun and not for actual computer use.
Yep.
And I see a lot of people buying new computers, buying extra heat sinks, talking about how they're going to overclock. And these people do not have enough money to buy 5 computers a month. So I keep telling them not to.
The danger is not as much as it used to be, actually. It's not as likely that you're going to fry anything.
Why take the risk? It's like risk for no reason. It might not be a big risk in some cases. It might only be a little risk. But it's greater than 0. Why bother? Why? What are you getting for it? Nothing. It's not worth it.
But on that note, going to bed.
Oh, I'm going immediately to bed.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.